Greetings, every people. It's your cult of personality here, ToonKritic's the name. Toon's name of my game. Welcome back to Roundtable is Magic, a little show we take a look at poems of the Technicolor variety. And I was able to say that even with a little bit of a sickness. So this just proves how golden my vocals are today. A little scratchy, but we can make that work. So today is not an episode review. We actually have a special guest with us. He is the voice of Bright Mac and Pharynx. You know him pretty well. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Mr. Bill Newton.
Yay! Clap, clap, clap for me. Sorry, self-clap. Hi.
Welcome aboard, sir. This is going to be interesting because you're one of the more current voice actors in MLP right now.
I am. I'm so fresh.
Funky fresh. Oh, that's fresh.
He still has that new VA smell.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Joining me today are the following co-hosts. We have Lightning Bliss.
I think I would be a boring, reformatted changeling because I'd be pure white and then I had like rainbow highlights in the tail and wings and that's it.
No, it would turn out alright. We have FNGR.
Hello.
And we have Keychi. And Pharynx husbando Silverknight.
Shut up. Just shut up. Just let me die.
He has a major crush on your character.
Please let me die.
I have a major crush on my character, so it's cool.
Understandable.
That's normal. That's normal. All right, so let's get this shindig started. So, you sir, you are from Australia. You're from the land down under.
I sure am. Where
And
beer doth flow and men chunder.
You're from, I believe, Melbourne, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what was life like growing up in Melbourne? Do you have any fun stories?
I thought about it, and nothing fun. Well, not nothing fun. But nothing really stand out. It was a pretty simple life growing up, going to school. My parents, my dad's a musician, my mum's a teacher, so I think that they gave me my love of language and the arts. And yeah, I racked my brain and I truly couldn't think of anything super cool and exciting that happened to me in my childhood.
That's okay.
I'm sure some things did happen. If we had my parents on, first of all, it would be highly embarrassing. And they would probably have some stories that would interest the audience, but I can't think of them. They happened to me. I was there, but nope.
Well.
Just saying, we'd be open to that.
Or having my folks on, I'm sure they'd be thrilled. They'd be super excited to get a peek behind the curtain that is the world I work in. And I'm going to veto that one. They are not allowed on.
Aw, well there's an idea though.
Oh, it'll be something funny though, I bet.
I was going to say, if I get more roles, future podcasts, we could have my parents on.
Deal.
Bliss, you're up.
Okay. So forgive me if I have only just heard about you due to MLP because I am a workaholic and I don't really venture outside much to get to know
That's cool.
voice actors and whatnot. So, what is some of the other work you've done that you are highly proud of besides MLP?
Okay. One of the things I'm highly proud of, although it comes with a lot of caveats, is I technically did a voice in Finding Dory, the Disney movie.
Oh.
Yeah, I say caveats because so what happened is that for the foreign language market, they would record obviously other people doing the lines of the characters in a different language. However, the character that I did a voice for was Gerald, the sea lion. And he doesn't have any lines. He just makes little noises. And so I just had to match the person who was in the original, and then they used my voice for every single language except for English. So I say to all my friends, I was in Finding Dory, but if you went to see it at the movies, you didn't hear me. You heard somebody else.
Gonna have to track down, like, you know, a Spanish version or a German
I was gonna say,
version,
if you, I've double checked. I know for a fact that the French Canadian version of Finding Dory is me. I watched it and I fast forwarded, and sure enough, it's me. But yes, so I'm technically in Finding Dory, but uncredited. But I know I was there. I know it.
Okay, then.
Like the unsung hero.
Yeah,
Gold
so
star.
that's one, and another one that I'm very proud of, just because I'm a huge fan of the company and the series, is that I did some background voices for Dragon Age Inquisition by BioWare.
Oh, okay.
I've heard
Yeah.
good things about Dragon Age.
It's a great series. It's up there with one of my favorite game series of all time, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah, really good stuff.
Yeah, you were mentioning before then, yeah, that you were a big gamer.
Yes, I definitely am.
Okay. But if
Do
I
you
may-
play Overwatch?
Oh, I was about to say.
No, I
like-
don't. I'm not as big into to first person shooters, and I know that Overwatch is very different. A lot more team based, a lot more what is it? Sort of a battleground arena combat. Yeah, but no, I never got into it. I guess I always can. It's still there.
I was going to ask, like, what is your, like, at least some of your all-time favorite video games that you played?
All-time favorites would be probably the Dragon Age series, the Mass Effect series, the Civilization series, the turn-based strategy, world-building, never-ending, just one more turn. Oh, look at that! It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Those
game.
are meaty games, to say the least.
Yeah, I love them. But there have been times where I've had to sort of make a promise to myself that I wouldn't play them anymore. And then some of my other favorites are various forms of massively multiplayer online games. So I like World of Tanks and World of Warships, which are MMOs, but more arcadey. And then I really, really loved World of Warcraft, but I'm not allowed to play it anymore.
Oh.
And that is because it a little bit took over my life for a while back in the day, and so I'm clean of World of Warcraft for some time now, and they keep trying to get me back in with those week free trials. Come on back.
I've heard that game takes over your life.
It does. It really does, and they know it, and that's sort of the model that a lot of games like that are based on. And I know that I'm exactly the kind of person who will fall deep down that rabbit hole.
Which expansion ate the most of your life?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd say probably Wrath of the Lich King.
That's the one I heard highly recommended.
Yeah, I loved it. I really loved it, and I threw myself into it, and like every single day I was on there. I was doing the dailies. I was doing dungeon runs. Yeah, it was a really, really good one. And then after that, I think Cataclysm was after that one. I'm not sure, but Cataclysm I stuck around a little bit for, and then partway through it, I realized just exactly how much it was going to take over my life.
Oh, yeah.
And I sort of had to step away. And I don't even know how many they're onto now. I do my best not to pay too much attention, because I'm sure I'd look at it and go, hey, that looks pretty good. They've come a long way.
What did you think of that World of Warcraft movie they released a little while back?
I never saw it. Because I sort of like, in keeping with, I was like, no, that's a world I'm no longer a part of.
Wow.
It's not-
quit cold
If I even
turkey.
watch the movie, if I even see a commercial for it, I'm gonna be gone. You'll never see me again.
I felt that way a little bit. I was just like, look, if I really love this, or if it just really sort of, sparks that kind of, that fantasy fire inside me, I was like, oh, maybe I should just check out how everybody's doing on the old World of Warcraft. What's
Just
Azeroth up to?
Just start scratching your arm, just a little bit. Just a
Yeah,
little bit. It's
I
okay.
would. Exactly. I'm. That's my personality. Is that when I get into things like that, I just go so far into them.
All right, Silver, you're up.
Okay, so my question is, what's a favorite hobby or side project that you like to work on?
I'd say one of my hobbies, as we've just talked about, is video games. But side projects that I like to work on at the moment is photography.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like to collect and shoot with vintage cameras, and I only shoot film, mostly black and white film, and I develop it myself.
Cool.
And scan it and put it on Flickr, but I put my Flickr on private because I don't feel confident enough that anybody can see it. So it's really just for me. One day maybe I'll put it out there for the world.
Unveil it to the world, be the next hot
Yeah.
artist or something.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the plan.
Believe you.
Just like take over Instagram by storm and then Flickr along with it.
Well, like it's
There you
a sweet side gig, if the voice acting doesn't work out.
Speaking of voice acting, Anthony.
Oh, what was your biggest misconception of working as a VA going in?
That's a good question. I would say it's kind of an equal a couple of things. One is that I thought that no matter what you did, you were always in the room with everybody else when you did it. I'd seen some, behind the scenes things and stuff like that. And so I just had this picture that everybody was in the room and kind of bouncing off each other and things like that. And depending on the project, that can be true, but a lot of the time it's not. So for example, people were asking me at one of the recent conventions, BronyCan 2017, on one of the panels, people were asking, oh, so the episode you did as Bright Mac, what was it like working with Felicia Day and William Shatner? And unfortunately, I've never met them. So the lines were recorded first, and then they recorded those folks later. So I haven't met them. So I'm in the episode with them. They are technically my colleagues, but I didn't unfortunately get to work with them. The other misconception was how often you will be working, doing what you want to do. So, if you get into it and you want to do animation, the misconception I guess I had was all of the voice actors that I knew of and was a big fan of, they were very, very prolific. They worked a lot on a lot of different projects and things like that. And I sort of just had this idea of like, oh, okay, once you get into voice acting, that's what you do, like a couple of days a week, every single week, you go in and you do your stuff and things like that. And there are some people that are lucky enough to be working that often, but a lot of the time it can be a while between jobs. So whenever you look up somebody's IMDb, and you see that they were in a series or an animated feature or even, stage and screen acting, they're in a television show or a movie, and you see like one whole year between two projects, it's easy to not really think about that, but then to realize, oh, that might have been 12 months where they weren't really working. And so it was something that just as an actor in general, regardless of whether it's voice or stage or screen, theater, anything like that, it was something to just sort of prepare for, that I wouldn't necessarily be working as often as I'd like.
Well, hopefully it wasn't discouraging at first.
No, look, I mean, it can be a little, but that's something that I actually was forewarned about, luckily, by a lot of actor friends, that there will be a lot of discouragement in the arts in general, but acting especially. There'll be a lot of discouraging things or things that you could be discouraged by, and you just sort of have to get used to things like that.
Well,
yeah.
Now we can finally move into the pony talk. Hopefully we're not going to spend too much time on that. So, Keychi, if you'd like.
So how did you get into voice acting for MLP specifically?
Okay, so I had before I booked the role of Bright Mac, I had gone in for a couple of auditions for other characters. I've no memory of which ones. But
what did you
so I was
Twilight.
No, not that early. So yeah, it was probably about 2 or 3 years into having moved here that I got my first auditions for Pony, and then I started to go in for some of them. And whatever it was, whether it was just it wasn't me or it wasn't exactly right for what they needed, I didn't book them, and that happens, and that's fine. And then one day I went in and booked, did the reading for Bright Mac, and they sort of gave me a hint at who the character was and its importance in the world. But I didn't really get a sense of it until I'd booked it and then went to the session and they explained it a little bit more. But yeah, it's not quite the sort of the romantic story of getting into working for My Little Pony that people might think. It's kind of it's another day of audition at a studio where you go in, do what you do, and then hopefully, a couple of weeks or a month later or something, you get an email saying like, they booked you, and that's how it was.
The soul-crushing world of VA.
Yeah, it can be. Again, it's that thing about, like you go in, you do your best, you give your best performance that you possibly can, and then you kind of have to forget about it, otherwise it'll drive you nuts. Which is hard to do when it's a bigger show. Like I knew that My Little Pony was a big deal. And so when I knew I was going in to do an audition for it, I was pretty nervous. You have those moments where you just go like, okay, this is kind of a big deal, and I want to do my best as I always do, but not let whatever pressure get to me.
Yeah, so in a way,
That's gotta be hard.
You were aware, I guess, of the significance of who you were playing in the story and how big this episode was for not just the fans, but also for the story itself, the untold story.
I got a little bit of an idea about it on the day that we were recording it. I'm kind of glad I didn't know more about it when I was auditioning. Otherwise, I would have flubbed it, I'm sure. I would have just gone, this is really important.
I cannot imagine the country accent now, because I'm listening to you.
I'm thinking the same thing.
Your normal accent, I'm just like, how?
How what?
How can you...
Well, Keychi, you go ahead, sorry.
Okay, as the resident Southern pony here.
Oh, excuse me. Hi, Texas.
Hey. Shh. We can't
Far
see you
more
down there.
southern than you,
Hush.
sister. Man.
Hey, Mississippi is just as southern as Texas.
Hi,
I'm further south. So
Florida. You can't get any more south than Florida. I'm in South Florida.
Look. We will fight about who's more southern
We are having
later.
a south off.
You are embarrassing us in front of our friend here with the nearly almost English accent. Please stop.
It's true. It's true.
That's the sad thing. All of us are actually from the South, and the Australian has a better Southern accent.
That's true, and I mean, technically, I'm from further south than all of you.
That's
That's also very true. He's all
That's
over.
true.
Yay!
You get the crown.
But yeah, just like, how did it feel voicing Bright Mac? Like that, it's a pretty big role to work with, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they told me a little bit about it, and I knew that they some of the actors that were in the room at the time, they were just like, oh, we finally get to meet them, and I was like, okay, this seems like a really big deal.
No pressure. No pressure.
And I guess also Keychi, I think you were going to ask like, how did I get into the southernness?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think I did it in my audition as well. It's I don't want to give away too many of my magical secret box of tricks, but I sort of went in with an idea of I have always liked either, you could say, imitating or mocking Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, really?
So, like a bit of both. Like, it's like a loving mock, but so when I went in, I was just like, my little sort of, like ramp into it was just, all right. Okay, so this is Bright Mac. It's like, this is who he is. He's like a Matthew McConaughey he's a little sweeter, and he's not quite so creepy. He's not like this, all right.
Stereotype.
He's a nicer guy, he's just a sweetie.
He's a little cinnamon roll. We love him.
Yeah.
I get like a bit of a Bob Ross vibe.
A little bit.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. He's got
teach you how to paint.
that placid nature, that just that inner peace. Yeah, and so I had a couple of things going on when I was thinking about what sort of voice to give him, and I was going to say, if it gives any legitimacy to my southern accent at all, I did live for 6 months in Arkansas, so
Oh, there we go.
We will accept you
That'll
as
do
a,
it.
as a Southern.
A little bit, and I mean, I've always been a bit of a mimic. You know, like I love to imitate voices that I hear on television or in real life. And so, yeah, when I was living in Arkansas in high school on an exchange program, I loved just picking up all the accents of those folks because it was like living in a character movie. I was just like, this is amazing. Everybody.
Well, howdy, I'm sure happy to be here. Yeehaw.
I
Oh,
will
hush, too.
end you.
Well, no, one of them, what was it? I can't even remember the fella's name, but he always used to say, he's like, Wild Bill, we're going to play football. We're going to play football today,
Oh my
Wild Bill.
God.
My hair just stands up
I
immediately.
know, right? Do you
Sorry,
have
that
a-
was always fun.
Do you have like a go-to impersonation of a celebrity? That you
Not
just like to
really.
do?
I guess I do, but celebrity, I don't know. Not a lot of people know who he is anymore. But the actor Peter Lorre
Oh, yes.
from Casab. So I like to do is the oh Rick, why are you so mean to me? Oh, I'm just trying to get by, and you're just you always hit me and embarrass me in front of people. So that's just the one I like to do the
That's
most.
chilling. That's pretty close, I think.
That gave me the heebie-jeebies. Jesus.
So he's the one I like to do the most, and it's great because you can do it, and tons of people don't know you're even doing a celebrity impression at all. They're just like, oh, that's a cool, creepy, weird voice. So yeah, it works, and it works for characters as well. Because although the only problem is that a lot of the casting directors are of a certain age, and so they all are very familiar with who Peter Lorre is, and so sometimes they'll be like, okay, yeah, but let's not do Peter Lorre, let's do something else. I'm like, oh, one
They
day
got
I'll sneak it past you.
One day, one of
take
you
us
young
back.
directors.
Yeah, take us back to Animaniacs where you could easily get away with it. You'd be fine
Yeah.
back then.
Oh
Yeah. The other day I tried to do a Brian Blessed, who's a British actor. He has a very big, booming voice, and they didn't know who Brian Blessed was, but they did say less of the Psycho Santa, and I was like, okay, fair enough.
Psycho Santa. Okay.
Psycho
Yeah.
Santa.
He kind of is a bit like to look at as well. He has a big bushy beard, and I could see it, but yeah, I was really bummed out because I was like, oh, I wanted to sneak in a Brian Blessed voice into whatever we're doing.
Jeez.
Have you used your voice acting to mess with people who haven't recognized you at conventions yet?
Not yet. Well, I've only been to the one so far, and it was all a bit much to take in, but I might do that in the future.
Yeah, I can imagine your first convention experience was fun.
Oh, it was amazing. It was truly one of the nicest experiences I've ever had. I was telling my parents and my friends. I was telling everybody, both here and back home in Australia. I was just telling everybody how amazing it was. And
We were all there, actually.
you were all there?
At BronyCon, yeah.
Oh, wait, BronyCon or BronyCan?
No. He was at the Canadian one that was.
I was, yeah, and it was
Oh.
actually it was really good that I was at that one for my first one because it was smaller. It was like 500 or 600.
BronyCon is
And-
the big one. That
Exactly,
overwhelms
and
anyone.
if that had been my first one, I might have it's not like I wouldn't have come back, but I think it would have just blown my mind a little too much.
You're like, okay, you bronies are weird. I'm just gonna go back to what I was doing.
Oh, it's fine. I'm plenty weird, so it was just like, all right, cool. All right.
Well, little birdie might have told me that you might be coming to the States hopefully for a con. Hopefully.
Maybe.
If that's the case, if I know the one that it might be, I hope you enjoy your time in America and hopefully you won't get sloshed.
Well, I was going to say there's potentially a couple that are talking to me, and both of them have the potential for me to get really sloshed.
Oh no.
That'll be interesting.
That sounds
Yeah.
like fun.
Keychi,
I'm
you're
gonna
up.
have to weigh it up between my. Am I here as me or am I here as a professional person? Tough decision.
You don't have to be professional.
That's true. Once the day's activities are over for the convention, I'm just some guy.
So now
Sure,
this should be fun.
I wanted to do a real quick question since you said you're good at impersonations.
Whoa, I never said I was good. I said I like to do them.
Well, I was going to say, I don't suppose you'd be able to do any U.S. presidents.
Challenge!
No, I've tried. I have tried.
Oh,
I can't.
nuts.
I can't.
I hadn't heard a good Bush in a while.
Which one? Which one?
The senior.
Senior. No, I could never do. Presidents.
Oh, nuts.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's okay. Keychi, you're up.
How do you get into your character for your role as Pharynx?
Here we go. This is what I want to hear.
Pharynx. So I'm not 100% sure on what decision I made on the day for the audition, but I knew that it needed to be kind of gruff. He's an aggressive little angry bug horse.
He's such a grump.
He is. He's a grump, but also he's funny. And he's got those little little snappy, snarky quips. So I knew it couldn't be just like it couldn't be some kind of horrible monster. Like it's a children's program, ostensibly. So
I don't know.
it's
My Little Pony has gotten away with some not PG things, so
that's true. But that's the sign actually I find of good young people's entertainment is something that doesn't just lead them down a path of hey, you're like 10 and you're only interested in being 10 and why should we try to teach you anything? I like it when programming for younger people treats them like young adults that they are. So, that's I like that about the show, and I like that about shows, animated shows that do it. But I knew that it couldn't be it couldn't be like Pharynx.
good lord, that would have been a totally different character.
Right,
That sounds like if Pharynx was in G1.
That's like
Right,
a cliche G1 villain, yeah.
That sounds like,
Right,
that
I was
sounds like
gonna-
Pharynx with constipation or something.
Oh my god.
I thought it was a
So-
pro wrestler cutting a promo.
Oh yeah. Macho Man Randy Pony.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, we have that with Iron Will. I mean, it's either
Right.
Macho Man or Hulk Hogan. Take your pick.
Right, yeah. I was going to say there's a lot of crossover.
Well, he calls himself in the third person now to compare him to The Rock. Moving along.
Oh, there you go. I was going to say professional wrestling. You can sort of blend them all into a gestalt pretty easily. So yeah, for Pharynx, I knew it couldn't be a horrible, terrible monster thing. I think I might have even tried a take at that in the audition, and the director was just like, "Oh, look, can we kind of lighten it up a little bit?" And I decided to sort of make it like, "Oh, they're lurking on our grounds, so he's very upset, and he's just very frustrated with everything." And so it's that kind of, it's in the back of the throat, and it's a little growly, but not too aggressive, and not too actually really hatefully angry. So a lot of just that sort of thinking went into it, and it's another of those classic he's misunderstood. He has his sort of his code and his objectives and aims, and he's doing what he thinks is right. So it's not angry and aggressive just for the sake of it. It's got a purpose behind it that he feels is misunderstood. And that's where that great sort of, thing in the episode is where people sort of go like, "Oh, okay, so he does he is doing something that we need."
It is
They grow
really
to
cool.
one-
I love Pharynx as a character. I think he's
I
one of
do
the more
too.
he's one of the more edgier, grumpier characters, and I sort of have a soft spot for those characters.
Yeah, he's our edgelord in our community. Yeah, you're talking to the edgelord here.
Yes, yeah, I'm the red and black guy. I'm all about things edge. It's funny because when I looked at Pharynx, I could imagine if the show wasn't PG, I could imagine Pharynx would let out a few F-bombs and all the other ponies would be like, "Oh, that's not nice."
He'd be the one where everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, did you hear what he said?"
F you guys said this last week.
Yeah, so that was how I got into to doing the role of Pharynx, and I loved it because any roles that I've ever done, whether it be in theater or animation or anything like that, I've always loved villains because they have much more. Usually, they have much more complicated personalities and sort of inner lives and objectives that they're trying to get across. At least good, well-written villains are.
Do you have a favorite villain?
Oh, favorite villain. Probably Roy Batty from Blade Runner.
Ooh.
So that was the Rutger Hauer role.
Good choice, honestly. I haven't seen Blade Runner in forever.
It's one of my favorites.
Are you looking forward to the sequel coming out?
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's a no.
same with me. I'm like, what is this? What is it? I don't know how to feel about this.
I gotta say that, like, that and so many other sequels, prequels, reboots, whatever you want. Like, I always ask the question, why? Like, why did we need this? Like, unfortunately, a lot of the Alien sequels.
Oh boy.
What? I heard Alien. What?
Oh dear. Oh
like
dear.
A lot of the Alien sequels, especially the ones made in recent years, I just remember thinking, like, why do we need this? Like, Alien and Aliens are probably two of the most like perfect pairing of films that I can think of, especially in sci-fi. And so a lot of the time when they revisit it, especially after such a long time, I always just ask the question, why? Like, what was the reason, apart from the obvious, like, we wanted more money?
Well, by far, Sigourney. I mean, sorry, I'm like the alien nerd here. Like, by far, Sigourney Weaver. Like, they really had to pay her to get her back for Alien 3, and then in 4, she's like, I don't want to do it, and then She said, okay.
I completely forgot about 4. I honestly just then was running through my head. I was like, okay, so it was Alien 1, 2, and 3, and then we had Prometheus.
He repressed 4.
Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection.
Resurrection, yeah, I completely forgot about Resurrection.
Now we have Prometheus and Alien Covenant, which is actually pretty good. Though our friend Jack Nolan would say that it was pointless and not very good. But
Well,
I argue it's Resurrection.
Well, I didn't see Covenant, but from what I heard, a lot of people said it kind of was just very much a lot like Alien.
Yes.
Which again beggars the question, why? And that's just the question I have with things like Blade Runner 2049. Is it 2049 or 59?
Yeah, it's 2049.
2049. I was just, when I heard about that, I was like, oh, I was kind of really okay with the way things finished at the end of Blade Runner, where we're just like, wait, what? What's questions, mystery. I'm fine with a film or a book or any form of art leaving me with some questions. Now, you can't get away with just not, addressing a bunch of stuff and leaving plot holes, but you can leave me with questions where I go like, ooh, I wonder what happened next.
Oh, so you're a fan of Inception?
No.
Nice slow roll.
Yeah, no, not really.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I know what they were getting at with the end, but I was just like, what? There was we would need a whole multi-hour long thing. Come on my podcast that I don't have and haven't started yet, where we'll talk about movies I have problems with.
Sign me up, I'll do it.
Let's do that.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's 1,000 of those in podcast land.
Oh yeah, there's quite a lot of podcasts to try and sift through to find the good ones,
Starting a YouTube channel, you'll go far.
Oh, that's true. That's true. They're demonetized.
You could do it as like Pharynx and just grumpily like say,
"Oh my gosh!"
Jesus.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
I was just sitting there thinking the difference being is that at least this podcast would have his accent. We'd have Vince McMahon that tune. Let's take his strongest thing and get rid of it off the bat.
Just slap like a Kofi Kingston accent on there. Nobody would even know the difference. Jeez. Anyway, Silver, you're up next.
All right. So we're gonna take a break from the My Little Pony questions. If you could voice any character from anything ever, who would you pick and why?
That's fun.
You know what?
That's a fun question.
You know what I think it would be. Honestly, would be Kermit the Frog.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear it right now.
Okay. Oh, pressure.
Hi ho, Kermit the Frog here.
Oh my god!
we got a great couple of acts on. We got a really big show.
This is great.
Wow.
Yep.
Bravo.
Keychi approves.
I'm bowing.
I might get in trouble for this. Are you familiar with Ghost from True Capitalist Radio?
Oh, jeez.
No.
Oh, never mind. Nope. We're gonna dodge that.
I'm gonna dodge this question.
Just gonna walk that right back.
Nope, that's fine.
It would be Kermit the Frog, or it would be a Muppet. Because
Everybody wants to be a Muppet.
Yeah, I think that those are probably one of the most like influential and sweet and genuine and warm creations that really for multiple generations, and they meant a lot to me and still do. I love those characters, and so anything with the Henson name attached always had me excited to see it.
Oh, were you a fan of the
You're a Dark
storyteller?
Crystal fan, then.
Oh yes, I was a fan of the storyteller,
Good.
and the Dark Crystal. Although the Dark Crystal, I could probably watch it now, but as a kid, I sort of had to not watch it very much because the Skeksis just, they really scared me badly.
Yeah, they really, kind of freaky.
They really did their job, and I remember thinking like, this isn't for kids.
You got spooked.
Oh no.
But again, that was the great thing, is that like, you know, those shows and those movies, you know, Labyrinth, The Muppet Show, Sesame Street, all those things dealt with, you know, semi-adult and adult concepts that kids, you know, will have to deal with one way or another at some point in time as they grow up, and not babying you through it. And you know, Dark Crystal deals with things like death, and so, but the way the Skeksis were modeled was just really perfectly terrifying.
I have got to ask, there was another, I think, sort of Muppets Henson style movie. Did you ever see Meet the Feebles?
Oh, Meet the Feebles by Peter Jackson.
Yep.
Yes, I have.
That is a trip and a half. Do not show that to your kids.
No, that's one where that's like way back. Like I heard recently-ish, but things like Deadpool, parents were accidentally taking their children because they were like, "Oh, it's a superhero movie.
No.
Let's go see that." It was like, "Oh, no."
I worked at a movie theater.
There was a really good excuse that I heard from a reviewer, I forget the name, where you'd like, at some point in time, your kids are going to have to watch an R movie sooner or later.
Right. Exactly. And Meet the Feebles was one of those. Well, Meet the Feebles was one of those ones where, like, if you just looked at the cover, it looked exactly like a kid's puppet-based film, and it was not.
There's nothing.
Thing for what was it? Sausage Party.
Oh yeah, Sausage Party.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Same kind of idea, where it's just like, oh, look at the bright Pixar-like animations. It's wait, what did that animated sausage just say?
No. There's nothing funnier than working in a theater and watching the parents' face change as they see a scene in a movie that their kids are not supposed to see.
Yeah. But that is a lesson for the child and the parent.
Listen to the ratings.
It is. Look up the rating. I mean, it's right there on the marquee. You know, when you go in and buy the ticket.
That's the thing. In America, the theater people, they're required to tell the parents, "Hey, this is an R-rated movie.
Mm-hmm.
You probably shouldn't bring your kid in here." And they're like, "No, it's fine." Okay.
But you don't get what you get.
Pretty much. Let's see. Anthony, I think you're up next.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Sir, what opportunities have opened up, I guess, as a result of working with MLP? Did you manage to score, like, your next gig based off of that, or...?
Well, It's funny. I guess I'm in a sort of not a limbo, because like literally the first character I voiced only aired a month ago, and then the second character that I voiced aired I think 3 weeks after that. So just back to back, and still very recently. So, for example, at Brony Can, when I was walking around, when I wasn't in the autograph room, when I was walking around, I had my lanyard and it said, Bill Newton, voice actor. And I got many very sweet people who would come up to me and say, "Hi, I see that your badge says voice actor, and I'm so sorry, but who were you?"
Oh, jeez.
And the thing is, I totally get it because it only aired a few weeks ago, and not everybody's going to be super diehard and go like, "Oh, it's you." Not
Except
that anybody
Silverknight with
has.
Pharynx, so.
Right, there you go.
Yep.
But the thing is that a lot of the people told me, they were like, "Oh, I haven't seen it yet," because they were getting ready for all the conventions. Because like BronyCon had happened, I think, only 2 weeks before BronyCan.
Uh-huh.
And so just a bunch of conventions all in a row that people were getting ready for and traveling to and from. And so they sort of had fallen behind on their watching. So the thing that they were at that I was at, they hadn't seen the episode yet. So, and I was like, "Oh, it's totally fine. I played this character." And they were like, "Oh." So I guess the opportunities that have opened up is that I've been contacted by potentially a couple of further conventions who want me to possibly appear at them, which is amazing because I think by the end of the first day of appearing at BronyCan, I was saying to Brian Doe, who I believe you've had on your show and who has been...
He is an absolute gem. Like,
Absolutely.
He was so much fun. He was like so much fun to have on, and I'm so glad like he vouched for me. And I'm just like, "Oh, I'm a gem. This is too sweet. I can't take this."
he's a sweetie, and yeah, we were sitting next to each other, and it was his first convention too, and we were just, it was perfect because we hadn't experienced a convention before, and we were just, yeah, we were getting to drink it all in fresh, both of us at the exact same time. And by the end of the first day, we were both first of all exhausted, but second of all, we were just like, "This is fantastic, isn't it? This is great. I'm gonna talk to my agent and try to, just like sort of put feelers out and just ask and go like, 'Hey, does anybody else want me to show up at their convention?'" And so that's been really good and really encouraging that a couple of groups have sort of approached me and said like, "Hey, would you potentially be interested in appearing?" As opposed to in reference to the second part of the question, have I scored any gigs? Not yet that I know of, but it would be super great if I did.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
You hear that,
yeah, wink,
Hasbro?
wink. If anybody wants to hassle and prod and poke anybody involved in any kind of animation, by all means, because in all seriousness, for a moment, it is becoming a much bigger thing that social media presence and connection with an already established fan base is becoming a bigger part of reasons that people get cast in things. I have feelings either way on something like that, but it's undeniable that it is a thing. People do sometimes get cast in things because a bunch of very loyal fans really loved whatever they did on whatever else they did.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What pieces of advice do you pass on to people aspiring to be in the voice acting industry? I know you're fairly new, but I'm guessing you might have some pieces of advice.
Oh, sure. Well, actually, I was going to say, so I'm sort of fairly new to the North American voice acting industry, but I've been doing it professionally for about 10 years.
Oh.
On and off, and not very much animation because back in Australia there really isn't much of an industry for that. But it's sort of the advice I give to anybody who nobody's ever approached me for advice on getting into theater, because nobody really knows me from theater. But it's the same advice, which is that get your acting chops to where they need to be. So if that means taking some classes, then take some classes. If it means joining a small community theater group almost every city of a certain size, and it doesn't even need to be big, will have some form of, hopefully, some form of community theater group, or just group of people who would like to perform and do something. And that's truly, it's the most important thing, and the best piece of advice I can give is because acting on the stage, acting on TV, film, voice acting, anything, it's all acting. And so being able to kind of, tap into the ability to, be real, be a real version of whoever you're playing or whatever you're trying to do, that it's some people it's quite natural for, but everybody needs some kind of help building that skill. And that's probably the best advice I could give, is that before jumping straight into specific, voice acting classes or whatever it is, any kind of performance class or group is super valuable.
All right. I'd actually say that this is pretty important too. All right.
Oh yeah.
Bliss, you are up.
Okay. So we not only just do podcasts, but we also have our own channels, and we do our own little shows and whatnot. So that being said, if you could make any show you want, what would you make?
The Pharynx show that just rips on movies.
that isn't that bad of an idea. I would have to practice the Pharynx voice so that it wasn't something that, depending on how long I have to potentially rant about a film or praise a film, that it's not going to be too hard on my voice.
Yeah, that does sound like it's a hard voice to do.
Luckily, it's not too hard. There's an old kind of adage in especially voice work, which is that, like, look, if you can't produce that voice for 2 hours or more, don't do it in the audition, because if you really sort of blow the voice out, like the Pharynx monster that I was doing, like if you try to do that for 2 hours, you'll just completely shoot your voice. So
oh yeah.
And if you could shoot it out in half an hour, and then you're useless for the rest of the episode, and they'll be mad at you because they have to pay for all that studio time, and you and everybody else. And yeah, it's a quick way to get people upset. So don't do that, aspiring voice actors. Don't do a voice that you can't do for a long time potentially. So yeah, the Pharynx one, I would just have to, I would have to try to temper it so that I didn't get too angry or excited about whatever I'm talking about and overdo it. But if I could make any show that I want, it would be something animated. I'm not sure exactly what. I am kind of working on a couple of things which are just little ideas. Like one's a sort of a fake documentary narration series, which I'm hoping to try to just make by myself because I don't really know anyone else who can do all the other bits and pieces. And the other one is, I would love to do something animated, but I don't personally know any full-time animators. And I also, I have some friends who are, but I also recognize that it's a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
Like my part of the thing, for example, like, my recorded, part in My Little Pony, that was a year ago, so like I did that on a day a year ago, and it took them a year to take the audio once they'd mixed it all down. I'm not sure how long that process for them takes, but it's not usually very long. But the animation, whoo boy, that takes a very long time.
Let's get them connected with Crown Prince.
Ah, jeez. We know a few animators in our Brony community that could probably pull something off if you pull the right strings.
I was going to say the other thing is that I can't afford to pay them. That's the real problem, is that I know some people who definitely have the skills to, put together something in a team situation like that. I also would never in my wildest dreams try to ask somebody to do it for nothing, because it's that thing about artists and supporting art is that, like, look, volunteer by all means for things that you want to do, if it's a cause that you believe in or something that you're happy to help with, like maybe somebody aspiring to work in, I've done some some free jobs for students, especially students in animation who are trying to, put something together. But at the same time, if it's going to be some kind of professional endeavor, I absolutely believe that everybody has to be compensated.
Oh, I agree. You know that. You'll get paid in exposure.
Oh, don't even get me started on that.
Well, what names leap out at you with that one, sir?
Oh, what names who have said we'll do it for exposure, or you'll get exposure?
Yeah, what people have tried to say, we'll give you exposure.
You know what's funny? Like I would potentially say, but I don't even remember because I didn't even give it a second thought. The minute that sort of comes across my table, or through my email, I think no, no. Like I mean, in my very early days, you will have to, and this is true of most jobs, sadly. In the very, very early days, there will be somebody who will offer you either nothing or almost nothing. And you can look at it as a form of practice. What I would say is don't ever accept it if it's clearly coming from somebody who A, can afford it, and B, is going to make money off it. So I've had companies where I wanted to, like for e-learning modules, I work for a couple of companies that do that. And essentially what that is that I'm going to narrate like a computer program that they will use to teach new staff members. And you can look at that and you can sort of say like, okay, well, that is for a company to show to its employees so that the employees are better at making money for that company. So everybody in that situation has to get paid. Because if you're a business and you're trying to, make a video to train people to make them better at your business to make money, and if you legitimately can't afford to pay somebody to do that, that's too early to be making that program. You aren't in business yet.
I would have to agree on that. Last question I want to go with here. I asked this to all the voice actors now, and actually I think Bliss, I think you were the one who originally came up with this. I think back one of our earlier interviews. There are those who say that voice acting is not a real job.
Yes.
So, what are your thoughts on that perspective?
Well, like boo aside, it's really like I guess I could see why somebody might assume that that's true, and that's really only if you, I guess, break jobs, quote unquote jobs, into does it involve physical labor. And if it doesn't, then is it a real job? But that's true of almost every job. Like the majority of jobs that exist now are no longer manual production jobs. The other one, I guess, is that people would be looking at it and going like, it's all artsy fartsy. And, like if you're going to, get a real job, my parents joked to me when I wanted to get into acting, like, oh, okay, sure. But what's your real job backup?
Oh, jeez.
But no, I was going to say they were kidding because my dad has been a musician his entire adult life. Like I think his band is going on 45 years or more or something, and they still perform. So he's never had a quote unquote real job. Really, like he's done some teaching, but the teaching is teaching music industry related things, which he has a wealth of knowledge in. But this is the thing: is that there are going to be people who consider certain jobs, and it's almost always the arts, which people say like, yeah, but that's not a real job. But the thing is that really, I guess my definition of a job is that if somebody is going to pay you as a professional, the very definition of the term, if you are paid for the work that you do in that field, you're a professional. And if that's happening, that's a job. Mm-hmm. I will then take that money and I will put it back into the economy, as it is. But I mean, if it comes down to, is it a job? Well, that's a philosophical question. I don't know if I can answer. But I think that voice acting is just another form of acting. And, the argument could be made like actors, right? But the whole job of acting and storytelling and things like that is really sort of taking people on emotional journeys and exploring stories and stories as a reflection of ourselves. It got a little philosophical and a little arty-farty there, but that's really what I think that job is, and that's an important job. Otherwise, like if voice acting is not a real job, then acting is not a real job, and then the arts aren't a real job. So we're not allowed to have paintings or books or any of the television shows that people like or movies or anything like that. None of that.
Anything fun.
Yeah, not allowed to have any of those things anymore if those aren't real jobs, I guess.
Yeah.
But yes, all of that summed up very concisely in boo.
Boo.
Yep. I think it's a real job, but it was just one of those areas of concern where I could see a parent would be concerned.
Oh, totally. Oh, and very rightly concerned. Like, truly, it's a job, but it's one of the hardest jobs. Okay, I've got to be careful. It's one of the hardest jobs on somebody. It's not physically demanding, although it can be, but it can be mentally and emotionally draining almost all the time. And that's because you have to essentially get used to it. For example, I tell people that basically I go on over 100 job interviews every year, more than 100. And I will, if I'm lucky, get 4 or 5 of those.
Good Lord.
That's usually how it works.
Right.
Audition?
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's better. Yeah, sometimes it's better and sometimes it's not. But yeah, every audition is a job interview. It's that same thing of just like, here's what I've got for you. And I think, I'm about to show you why I think you should hire me. And I hope that you do. And then you walk away and maybe you get it, maybe you don't. And so it's over 100 of those usually. And so getting used to that and that being just how you get by, that can be really hard. And parents, my parents, my dad knew how hard it is to get by in the arts, being a musician. He actually joked to me when I said, "Dad, I want to be an actor." And he said, "Congratulations, son, you've picked the only industry with less hireability than a musician." and it's true. I believe the unemployment for actors is something in the 90s. It's for however many actors there are out there, there's not that many of them working. So I consider myself incredibly lucky to have been given the opportunities that have then allowed me to eke out a career. But yes, in terms of real job, I would just consider it more of a we in the industry usually refer to the quote unquote real job as a day job. Because
I love how Peter knew and everybody that we've asked this question, it's always something similar and yet completely different. So Peter New told us right off the bat that not only is this a real job, but it is definitely a physical job, believe it or not. I gave him an example when I took on a role for one of our members of our community. Unfortunately, didn't get aired. But yeah, apparently she wanted me to play the role of Mrs. Beaver from the book Narnia.
Oh, okay.
Now, I am a Texan trying to pull off a British accent. And I am not a voice actor at all. I've had absolutely no training.
Well, we need to step up. This dude over here is from Australia, and he can out-southern you. So how do you...
But he said...
I can't out-southern. I can... if I tried to keep it up for like 30 minutes, somebody from the south would be like, "Hang on a second.
Wait, hold on. I have an idea. How's your Chicago accent?
Oh, great.
Hang on.
This ought to be good.
Let me think. Okay, I'll read one of the questions that you read to me, that you asked me. So if you could make it in any show you want, what would you make? How did it feel voicing Bright Mac, and were you aware of the significance of the character in the story?
You sound kind of like Peter Griffin.
Okay.
Oh, that's true. A little too.
I was going to say
I don't know whether to take offense to this or be impressed.
I was about to suggest if you know the Bears from
the Bears.
Saturday Night Live. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. How did you get into the character of your role as Pharynx? There's a comedian I listen to, Jimmy Pardo, and he's from the south side of Chicago, and he sometimes falls into his accent and creates a character out of it. So I just imitate him.
Now, you
So you're
kind
like
of
your
gotta
own
get
little
into the action a little
changeling.
bit. You kind of gotta get just bring it up from inside you and just kind of roll with it. Just roll with the punches. You know what I'm saying? Something like that.
Yeah, and you know what? And that deep dish pizza that they talk about, that's for the tourists.
Oh, it's
we don't
marvelous. Don't even talk to me about the New York pizza. No, we have Chicago deep dish pizza here. So
yeah, the deep dish pizza.
I can't deal with this
Am I
right
in the
now.
right podcast? Like, what's going on?
We're having a Chicago off here.
Oh, jeez. Okay,
I can't
but in all
deal with
seriousness,
this.
going back to something, how you are lucky and fortunate to be in this business. We are lucky
Mm.
and fortunate to have you voice not just one, but two amazing characters in My Little Pony. And we hopefully will get to see at least one of them come back in the future.
I hope so. I would love to. I would love to do either of those again. They were fun.
I think you have a better chance with Pharynx because Brightmac is,
Well, I've
Right
heard.
here first.
Look,
Right
I've
here
heard a
comes
lot
back
of
as
I've heard a lot of
zombie.
theories on the status of Brightmac, but yes, it is nebulous. It's nobody's quite sure, mainly because the writers told me it's not.
They're not
They
sure
really
either.
they really sort of went to points of just being like, just saying like, yeah, it's some people think this and some people think that, and that's how I approached it. They were just like, nobody's really sure. Whereas Pharynx, he's totally around.
Oh yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah,
I said that out loud.
he's around. He's wrecking vines, punching holes in the hive.
Still doing his best thing.
Oh yeah, he may have transformed, but like he's still that guy.
So
I have one.
Wait, what?
No, go ahead.
So before actually we end this, anyone who is watching this live, I know, we're having such a good time. Anyone who's watching this on YouTube, I want you to put down in the comments below if you have made it this far in the video. I want you to put down who you think is the better character, Pharynx or Brightmac. I gotta see this. I gotta see. What the fans stand.
Okay. While we're waiting for that, I have one last request.
Sure.
Go.
Can you say hi to Silver over there as Pharynx?
No.
Hi, Silver! Are you my biggest fan? I really love having a fan. It makes me very happy.
He's so adorable. And me.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty great being me.
This is so adorable. You just made his night.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
You're a blessing. I want you to know this.
Aww. I tell people all the time, like, and it goes back to what I said, that I'm very, very lucky, is that, and it's true of so many voice actors I know, is that we do this all the time. I'm not joking. My friends and family are sick of it. But I will sometimes in my office, all by myself, I will just do character voices because it's fun. Sometimes I walk around the house and just do like a German accent, like I'm ready to go to the
My
club.
husband is German. I'm glad he can't hear you.
Well, no, this is the more cosmopolitan. It's not the more clipped German accent. A little bit more like that. No, this is fun, guy. He's going to the club. He likes to dance. Yeah. Yeah, I will do that for hours.
Just for fun.
Yeah,
Just for
sounds
fun. And I am
magical.
so glad and so lucky that there is an industry and people within that industry who have said, hey, would you like to do that in front of our microphone, and we'll give you a career and help you pay your bills by doing that. And it's weird. It's weird to, like, I still to this day I'm just like, wow, I'm so glad that is a thing, because otherwise I'd be that person at the office who does this, and after about a week you would want to move to a different desk or find a reason to sabotage that person so they get fired.
It's all in good fun though. All right.
Looking at the chat, it looks like they're leaning Pharynx.
Ooh.
Lean and Pharynx.
Yeah.
Like they're
Good.
Pharynx.
Why wouldn't you? I'm awesome.
Oh, come
Pharynx
on
best
now,
bud.
Pharynx. Pharynx, what about me? That's not fair.
Well, too bad. Nobody even knows if you're alive.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh, well, that is harsh. That is, I'm deeply hurt. You don't know. Maybe I'm on another dimension or a different planet.
Nah, probably not.
Animators, get on that.
Now, boys, behave yourselves. Behave.
Lord knows I'll do that later.
Oh, jeez. All right.
I realized as I was doing that, I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna say anymore because I know a couple of people, like Mike and Jim, will probably be mad at me.
Yeah, I respect you. We don't want to get you in trouble.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, like you want those characters to come back, right? And not like have them have some kind of animation accident where they're just like, turns out he had to go back. Poochie had to return to his home planet.
Well, luckily we were laughing over you when you were doing this, so I don't think anybody would try to rip this off or anything.
No.
Woo! Safe.
So, for all those who have been watching this video, I hope you all have enjoyed this, and thank you, Bill, by the way, for coming on. This has been one of the most entertaining interviews we've had in a while.
You're so
great.
welcome. Thank you for having me. I've had a great time.
And we hope to see you at some American cons, hopefully, if all that works out.
Maybe, possibly, could be, might.
Maybe. You never know.
Maybe.
Never know.
So, for all those who've been watching, thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next episode. Stay awesome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.